So in today's class, we'll see what is auto-scaling setups, and all how it works, right? The complete demo and complete hands-on of the auto-scaling we'll see in this class. Before we are moving to the lab setup, moving to set up the auto-scaling, let's first understand what is the auto-scaling, right? Now, what is auto-scaling? Auto-scaling is a way to automatically scale up or down the number of compute resources that are being allocated to your application based on its needs at any given time. So whatever the resources, compute resources you have added to your system, to your project, to your applications, right? Based on the demand, if suppose you need to add some resources, scale up some resources, or scale down some resources, based on that, it can be automatically scale up, scale down, or scale in or scale out, right? We'll see in details what exactly the scale in and scale out, what is scale up and scale down. So it helps you to ensure that you have the correct number of emergent EC2 instances available to handle the load for your application. Okay, so let me tell you a real-time scenario. Like if you have an application, if you have an e-commerce application, and you have targeted the customers in Asia Pacific. Okay, in Asia Pacific, you have targeted the customers. Now, suppose you moved your business towards, suppose to the American state, to the USA. So what happened? Suddenly, there is an increasing number of customers receiving and sending requests to your application. So what is required for you? You have to set up an auto-scaling group for you. Why? Because if the large number of customer increased, you may need extra number of resources. You may need extra compute power, right? You may need extra compute power. So based on the customer, you may need to increase or decrease the compute power. Okay. So the types of auto scaling, the types of scaling, first let's understand the type of scaling. We have the horizontal scaling. What is this horizontal scaling? Horizontal scaling is nothing but it means that you scale by adding more EC2 machines into your pool of resources. Suppose you have 2 servers currently, and you are serving a few people, a few customers, and it increased. The server load increased, and you have to add another machines to that. So think about the load balancing, right? If we have 2 servers added to the load balancer, and suppose our load increased, and we need to add another server to that, then we can set off that one, and it is called horizontally scaling of the machine server. So what happens here? The more EC2 into your pool of resources. With horizontal scaling, it is often easier to scale dynamically by adding more machines into the existing pool. So dynamically adding, that we'll understand by using of auto scaling and load balancing, right? How you can dynamically add more machines to the existing pool. Suppose you're saying, if you see this diagram, we can increase the number of auto scaling based on the auto scaling group, being set up. Okay. Now, vertical scaling. What is this vertical scaling? Suppose vertical scaling means that you scale by adding more power to an existing EC2 machine. Okay. In this case, in horizontal scaling, it will be like scale in and scale out. Remember, you may get questions, type of scaling available. We have horizontal scaling and vertical scaling. Horizontal scaling is nothing but your scale in and scale out. Scale in means you are adding more resources, and scale out means you are removing the resources from the existing pool. Okay. 1 second, guys. I'm getting a call. 1 second. Sorry, guys, I got a call from my manager. Okay, so so we got about the horizontal scaling. Now, in case of vertical scaling, what happens when you need to add more power to your existing EC2 machines? That is, if you want to add more CPUs or RAM or storage, right, to the existing EC2 machine, then you can go with vertical scaling. So vertical scaling usually means upgrade of server hardware. If you want to upgrade of your server hardware, you can go with the vertical scaling. It is often limited to the capacity of a single machine. Scaling beyond that capacity often involves downtime and comes with the upper limit. Okay, so there is also a limit in the capacity of the single machine if you're going to add it, right? So scaling beyond that capacity often involves downtime and the so here, if you see this diagram here, suppose we have a machine of EC2 instances T2 micro having one CPU, virtual CPU, and 1 GB of memory, right? And if you want to increase that one to EC2 instances of M5 LADs instances with two CPUs to 8 GB memory, right? You can do that one. But what will happen? Here, you will get like scale up to your existing resources, existing power. You are just going to scale up. And if you don't need more power, you can scale down as well. If you don't need more power, you can scale down to the memory. Okay. So that is how the vertical scaling works on, right? Now, let's see what are the components of the auto scaling. We just saw about the vertical scaling. We just saw about the horizontal scaling, right? Let's see about the components, what we are going to use in the auto scaling. So we have the groups, which we talked about this auto scaling group, because we are going to add all the required parameter, in the auto scaling group. Suppose here we have the groups, EC2 instances are organized into groups so that they can be treated as a logical unit for the purposes of scaling and management. When you create a group, you can specify its minimum, maximum, and desired number of EC2 instances. So the groups will help us to add the number of EC2 instances we need. That means what is the minimum number of EC2 instances is required and maximum number. So what is this minimum and maximum? Minimum means, suppose you have the application which is required minimum 2 servers to serve to the customer. Minimum 2 servers or minimum 2 EC2 instances required, right? But maximum, you can set it off based on a requirement or based on the customer demand. You can increase up to the maximum level. Suppose minimum you can set as 2, maximum you can set it as 5, right? Based on the business or based on the income, based on the customers, you can do the setups. What is the configuration template? You might have heard about, we already have worked on the configuration template, right? In the EC2 section, we have the configuration template, right? EC2 template. In the template, you have to mention what type of the configuration, why it is we call that configuration template, because the configurations for the system specification, that is the system configurations, what you need it, right? Groups uses the launch template or the launch configuration. It's called the launch template we had seen in the compute section of the EC2, right? As a configuration template for its EC2 instances, you can specify information such as AMI ID, instance type, key pair, security groups, and block device mapping for your instances. We already have seen about the launch template. It requires, whenever you are going to automate something and you need immediately an instance to be spin off, you can go with this launch template with the pre-configured things and then spin up the instances immediately. So what is the scaling options? Auto scaling provides several ways for you to scale your auto scaling groups. For example, you can configure a group to scale based on the occurrence of specified conditions. So we'll see how we can schedule to scale up or scale down. The options, right? These are the parameters, these are the components of the things. And there are few scaling options available. You may get questions, the type of scaling, you can say horizontal scaling and vertical scaling. And what are the options available? So we have the maintain current instance levels at all times, scale manually, scale based on a schedule, scale based on demand, and use predictive scaling. So let's see in details what are these all about the options, right? So maintain current instance levels at all times means, suppose you need 4 servers. If you see this diagram, if you need 4 servers to be there all the time to serve your customer, you'll set up the scaling that it should maintain all the current instance levels at all the times. Means if you have 4, in case any one of the server goes down, it will be automatically, suppose one of the server goes down, it will be automatically create another server instead of that. So it will maintain all the time 4 instances. Or if you have set up 5 or 10 or 1 or 2, whatever it is, you have to always maintain that level. Okay, so what it says, we can configure our autoscaling group to maintain a specified number of running instances at all the times. That means I require 4 means there should be 4 instances running all the times. In case any one is terminated or shut down or got disconnected, immediately it will create another machine instead of that. Okay, so that is the maintain all the time. So scale manually, right? So if you have 3 servers and you want to, you've got some customer increases and you want to increase your number of instances. So what you can do, you can manually add the servers. You can manually scale that. So based on the requirement, like based on if your customer increases, you can do that. So scale based on a schedule. So what is schedule? Schedule in the sense, scaling by schedule means that scaling options are performed automatically as a function of time and date. Like if you have heard about or seen about the cron job or batch job, right? In Unix or in Windows, what happens there? We have to set up a particular date and time. We have to set up a particular date and time. In that particular date and time, the job will be triggered. Similarly, here also, we have to set up that particular date and time to scale up or scale down the machines. Can any of you give an example of this? When we should go for scale based on a schedule? Okay, let me just tell you, give you a real-time example. So based on the schedule means, suppose your application is targeting some people. Suppose in India, only daytime. So your application is designed because in India, after around after 11 p.m. or 12 a.m., most of the people, they used to go sleep, right? And your suppose application, suppose kind of a trading applications, and beyond that time, your applications will not be used by the customer, right? So only for some particular windows, suppose your trading apps opens at 6 a.m. morning or 8 a.m. morning to until 6 p.m. night, evening, right? In between, your applications require more resource power. So what you can do, you can set off the scheduling to start up adding the resources, the morning itself, and in the evening after 6 p.m., it will reduce the resources. That means scale up or scale in during the morning time and evening time, it will be scale out. So what will happen? You here by scheduling with a particular date and time, what will happen? You can save the cost of the infrastructure, right? Whatever the servers you don't need, you can automatically remove them or stop them so that you're not going to pay any extra cost for that. Okay, it will help you in that manner. Next is scale based on demand. Next is scale based on demand. So what is the scale based on demand? It is a more advanced way to scale your resource using scaling policies. Okay, scaling policies. If you have a web application that currently run on 2 instances and you want CPU utilizations of the auto-scaling group to stay at beyond 50% when the load on the application changes, this method is useful in the scaling in response of changing conditions. Changing conditions. So here we have to set off a load balancer. If you see this diagram here, we have a router in between, right? You can set up a load balancer, you can set off a Route 53 or the things which will decide how the request will be routed. Okay, so if you see this diagram here, in case of low demand period, we have only 2 instances which will serve the purpose, right? Serve the request to the customer. In the high demand period, we need to add more servers. So how it happens? Automatically, if you based on the demand you set up, if your demand, if your request increases 50%, you have to set up a threshold. You have to set up a threshold in that if your customer request increases or your load on the server increases beyond 50%, increase the or scale up or scale in more resources, right? That is based on the demand. Next is predictive scaling.
So here I have one question.
Yes,
so
please.
is there any relation between the auto scaling and the load balancer in this server, in this service?
Okay. So what a load, okay, before answering your questions, I need to understand what you understand about the load balancer actually.
Load balancer is distributing the load.
Load. So
yeah,
the load balancer is distributing the load to whom it distributing, to where it is distributing, to the available online servers, right?
okay.
Whatever the things are available, it is distributing the task. But what auto scaling does, it just adding and subtracting the servers. That is the difference. It is just adding and subtracting the servers. If you have 10 servers already in your load balancer, what happens? All the based on the loads, it will distribute the task to the available server, right?
Okay.
If you need more server to be added to a load balancer, so how it will be done? Either you can do manually or you can go with auto scaling, right? If there is some demand increases.
Okay, then I have one more question.
Yeah.
Here there is a link between the auto scaling and load balancer. If
Yeah.
you've shown the two type of auto scaling, right? Vertical and horizontal.
Yes.
Horizontal, it is increasing the instant, right?
Yes.
But vertical, it's kind of upgrading the what is it? The configuration, right?
Yes.
So maybe the vertical, how it will be, it's a load balancer based on the instant, right? But vertical auto scaling, it's kind of configuration. So
yes, that's a nice question. Thank you for asking this. See, okay, let me give you one example here. Suppose if you have a load balancer, having suppose 5 servers, okay? And if there is a demand increases, what you can do, your load balancer suppose not able to balance the load or route the traffics, whatever getting from the customers, because there are no resources, sufficient resources available within those 5 machines, the 5 servers. So the demand increases means the demand is asking us to add one more server to that. Either you can add one more server to that, like the horizontally, you can scale in one more server, or what you can do, you can add vertically increase the CPU power or vertically increase the storage of few servers. Right.
Few servers or all 5 servers?
It's up to you. It's up to you and also up to your business requirement and your management. How you want. If you want to increase all the servers, then that is well enough. It will handle equally. If you want to increase temporarily for few servers, then you can do that also.
So vertical means already existing instance, we are increasing the configuration. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And what about, like, is it has to be done manually or automatically? Vertical.
Vertically also can be done automatically based on the auto scaling group and policy we set up. Okay, based on the auto scaling group policy we set up, but that we go with the adding of the server. I'll show you how we can do, because that is quite not possible to shut down and increase it, because if you are going to increase something on the server, it's not like the straight away that you have to increase the server power, right? You have to take some precautions before you are moving to that. So in
Yeah,
that,
that means manually, isn't it?
no,
You
no,
t-
no, no, no,
or
no.
no?
I'm telling you,
Mhm.
it's not manual. We can go with manual. That's options. That's fine. Every automation has the manual things to do. But here, what we have to do, we have to set up the template in such a way that when you need, when your the threshold increases, suppose 50%, right?
Yeah.
You have to add one more server, or you have to increase vertically some resources. So when you are adding vertically some resources, your template should have that particular resources available.
Right. It depends on the availability as well.
Exactly. Depends on the availability and depends on the your engineers or you setup. Because it
So
is
say
not
for example, on that particular moment, the availability is not there.
availability is not there means
Availability of the configuration at that time is not available. What we have mentioned.
um, anyway, in the cloud, definitely then you have to go for that options which available. See, whatever the templates you have created, definitely it will be available. AWS claims 99.99% is availability, right?
Right.
If it is not available, then there is definitely something the cloud providers should bear it.
Mhm.
Because they have agreed to provide you the service. If they breaks it,
SLA.
then they have
Yeah.
to provide the penalty, right? Or
Right.
something, right?
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now let's go on the predictive scaling. The predictive scaling is something now in the market, everywhere we are seeing like the artificial intelligence, machine learning, and all, right? The predictive, how the demands increases, the predictions, how what happens, right? It is a feature of AWS autoscaling uses machine learning to schedule the right number of EC2 instances in anticipation of approaching traffic changes. It predicts the future traffic, including the regularly occurring spikes, and provisions the right number of EC2 instances at advance. Even though we say the predictive scaling, how the predictions happens based on the past data, right? Based on the data we feed it to the machine will tell us what could be the future, right? The future gets calculated based on the past, based on the past and present, how it is, how the business is going on. Suppose in Christmas, normally in Christmas days, or normally some few festival days, right? Christmas or any festival days, what happens? There is a spike in the application. Suppose we are talking about suppose e-commerce, right? Or if you talk about any OTT platform like Netflix, Amazon Prime, or whatever, if there is a new release or new series comes or new movie releases, right? What happens? There are more spike to the server, right? So the predictions happen based on the past data. In this particular time or this areas, automatically there is a more number of customers comes and uses the applications. That time it will predict it and automatically add the servers based on the predictions. Okay, so that is more intelligent because the predictions happens based on the data we feed it, right? Let's think about this is small diagram here. Okay, I was maybe drawing it for previous classes. It's a simple diagram. Okay, leave it. This is not required now. So this type of the scaling options we have available. Okay, now let's move on and do a demo quickly. Okay, do a demo quickly. So here we have to go to our EC2 section. Okay. Now what you can do, go to the auto scaling configuration tab here, right? We have two things available, auto scaling group as well as launch configuration. Launch configuration is nothing but our launch template. We had used the launch template here, right? This launch template. This is nothing but your launch. Same thing, if you click it here, it will go to this launch templates. Okay, let's see in actions. The first, what we have to do, let's create the launch templates or launch configurations. Okay, create the launch configurations. Okay, here, see, instead of using the launch configurations to create EC2 auto-scaling groups, better go with create launch template. So we can go with launch template. So what is the launch template? What is the launch configurations or template configurations? It is creating a launch template allow you to create a saved instance configurations. That means, in simple example, whenever you go to purchase a laptop, first what you have to do, you have to see some specifications, like hardware specifications, software specifications, and then you purchase based on your requirement. Based on your requirement, whether you are just doing a simple applications or you need the laptop to play games or to do your some small Excel works or something, some internet browsing, some learning purpose. Based on your requirement, you have to choose your laptop, right? Similarly, based on your requirement, you have to choose the machine. You have to choose the EC2 instances, right? Now, just give a name. Suppose I'll give ABC ABC ASG. Okay, let's give a template version. Suppose I'll just give a demo, right? Demo version name. So what you'll do here, provide guidance to help me. It's not required. Then template tags. If you want to add it, you can add source template. If you want to specify the source template, if you want to create template from, I already have few templates available. I don't want to get it. Okay, so I'll create it from the scratch, from the fresh template, right? I don't want to source from any template. Leave it. Here's the launch template contains what you need, the OS image, right? So what if, let's go to the quick start. Select what type of image do you need, right? Suppose I need Amazon Linux. I should go with the free tier, right? And the instance types, the instance types, let's go to the T2 micro, which is under free tier. I'm not going to tell more on this. You already have experience. I already have finished this class. Okay, launch template. Let's go the subnet. Don't include in the launch template if you want. So you can specify which subnet your application should, your servers to be created. Okay, so let's add into, suppose 1B and security group. Let's add the security group also. I'll add it as anything, language something. And storage, let's by default let it be there. That's all. I'm not going to add anything in the advanced. Okay, so in the advanced sections,
what about if the subnet having not available?
Exactly, it will not create, it will fail. So better see, it depends on the which availability zone you want to create. So if you don't want to give, sorry, not this one, right? You can just remove that. So automatically it will choose one, but that is not the requirement, right? If we normally in the organization, we don't leave it as it is. We keep based on the requirement. We need that server to be created in this availability zone, means you have to set up this particular subnet, the servers to be created, right? In case suppose it is not available, it will not create it will throw error. Okay. Most of the times it will be there, but in 1C I have seen most of the time it will not be there. The servers will not be available, but 1A, 1B, it will be there. So if you don't want to do there, so you can simply leave it, right? Don't launch in the company, so it will automatically get selected by the AWS. But that is we don't do in the real-time one. We have to select the subnet. Okay. Fine. Let it be there. And here, let's include one's user data sections. That is very important because I need my server to be ready with some server software, right? But I'll quickly do that. Good. Now what I can do, I should have copied something. Just taking time to write it down. I have already, why it is asking to log in again. I have existing template, so I'll copy the user data from there, okay? So it will save time to write at least. Let's go to the launch template here. And so here there is a typo. I have missed to add double quote here. So it will qualify, don't provide double quote here, okay? After that, he has started the server. That's fine. Let me, for safer side, let me add sudo, but it's not equal. I've just added sudo there. So yeah, all the things been created now properly. I have not missed anything. Hopefully it will be created, right? Now let's create the launch template. I freshly created the launch template. Now let's go. By the time our launch template, yeah, it's created. What is that? ABC company ASG, okay? Amazon, sorry, auto scaling group. Now what I do here, let's go to the auto scaling group. Okay, let's go to the auto scaling group, and here create auto scaling. So here how it works, it's given it here, and what is the benefit? Fault tolerance, availability, cost management. Okay, fault tolerant, detect when an instance is unhealthy, terminate it and launch an instance into replace it. So which is best switch for which option? Available all the time. Available all the time. That means if it finds any server unhealthy or terminate, what it do, it will terminate it or remove it and create or replace that machine instead of that. So we'll have all the time, we'll have 4 servers or 5 servers available. Okay. So then availability, obviously availability is most important there, and we should consider that available all the times, all the servers are available. Now, what we can do here, the cost management, that is also most important, right? We can automatically add or remove based on the customer demand, right? So that can save us more cost to the company. Now, let's go ahead and create auto scaling group. Give a name, my demo ASG, something like that. I gave my demo ASG. Now, what does that happen? You have to select the launch template here, right? See, I have 3 templates are there. So first I select this one, which I created now. And the version, be careful, whatever the version you are selecting, right? I have only one version, and that's why default version. Let it be there. Next. And here automatically the VPC, default VPC comes out, and availability zone. You have to now select the availability. If we would have set up this availability zone and subnets in the template, then this option would not have come with us, right? Now let's select any one of the availability zone. You have to mostly select for auto scaling group. You have to select all three. Okay. Based on the availability zone, it will add. Now instance type requirement. So what will happens? This requirement, currently we have chosen this one. If you want to override, you can still override it. I don't want to do that. Let it be there. Go ahead. Next. Okay. Do you want to add a load balancer? If yes, then we can go and add a load balancer. I'll have a project to show you how to add this load balancer in the auto scaling group so that dynamically change. I have prepared a video on this also on YouTube. I'll share that on also. First, you do the practice of the load balancing, and then you do practice of auto scaling group, and then you do and do the setups how we can add this load balancing into the auto scaling group, dynamically increase and decrease the servers. Dynamically increase and decrease the servers. We can do that. Okay. So, and what I can do here, if I go to these areas, right? Health check. I'm not going to add to the ELB, so no load balancer. Okay. EC2 is selected. That's fine. Every 3 seconds, it will do the health check. Additional settings, leave it, not required any monitoring now. So here is the capacity, right? I was showing you the desired capacity. Suppose I need desired capacity 2, minimum capacity 2, maximum capacity is 4, right? So what is the desired capacity? What the capacity you should go with minimum desired capacity. Suppose max, and the minimum is how, what is the minimum should be there all the time, and the maximum up to what is the range it can go scale in or scale out, right? Suppose you have mentioned 4 only, it will scale in, it will horizontally increase up to 4 only. It will not go beyond that. Okay, and minimum of it can come up to 2 only. Okay, now let's go with the target scaling options. I am not going to give any scaling option for this demo now. Let's select this as none, and then go ahead and select next. That's all. And this is the notifications. We have another class on this SNS topics. So it is very simple. If you want to set off any notifications to your company email ID or to your people, right? So why we need these notifications? When there is a spike in the server increases, a spike in the demand, or spike in the notification, spike in the traffic, you need to increase new server, and definitely an alert should be triggered, and it should be intimate your team members. That time you definitely should add the notifications. Okay, you can go with the SNS simple notification service, which will help us to notify the customer, sorry, the company, like email ID, your group email ID, so that you'll be sure that there is a server increased, or if there is a server decreased, it will also notify you. You can go ahead and add notification. I don't want to add it now. Leave it. Next, some tags, it is optional. Leave it. Review, just check it, whatever things you have added is correct. Now create auto scaling group. So I just created the auto scaling group. So what will happen here? Can anybody tell me? This is a question for you. this is a question for you guys. You can tell me what will happen now? I just created the auto scaling group, right? What will happen?
Didn't created the you didn't
Instance.
attach it the load balancer, isn't it?
Yes, that's fine. It's absolutely okay. It's not
So
mandated that we have to add load balancer.
when we
What will
didn't
happen?
attach the load balancer, how does the system know
Mhm.
whether
Even though we
the
need to create any new instance, and we need to attach this auto scaling.
it will like show we can see the healthy system, unhealthy systems on the screen?
We don't need any load balancer. We don't need to create any instances. Because see, that's why we are going to use the auto scaling. It will automatically scale. It will automatically spin up services for us, right? It will automatically spin up instances or servers for us. So if you can see here, based on the desired capacity, right? It created instances for us now. We have 2 instances created. If I go to the EC2 dashboard now, right? We'll have 2 instances running. See, we have 2 instances now running. So who created these 2 instances? The load balancer created the 2 instances for us. As soon as I created the load balancer group, it automatically created based on the desired capacity and the health check we have set up, right? We had set up the health check threshold, right? The health check threshold is done by checking the server whether it is available or not. Based on that, it created this desired capacity. We had given the desired capacity of 2, so it's created 2 now, right? Now what happens here? If I go to any of the servers, right? Let's complete it, the status check. One is passed, right? Let's select this one. Whatever the best of the user data we have selected, it will be. See, our application is up and running. Our application is up and running, right? Similarly, if I go and do the same thing for other applications, suppose this one, see, these 2 servers are up and running, right? So it created by the auto scaling group, or it created automatically. I did not do anything. I simply created the launch template. I simply created the launch template and the auto scaling group. So based on the parameter we have set up, it created the server for us, right? So now it will be coming in your mind, right? How it will be increased to 5. See, we set up this only 2 to 3 or 4 or 5, right? So how the auto scaling group will know that it will increase the things? So you might have seen, right, while creating that one, I just skipped out the options, scaling options, right? So if I go there in the auto scaling group, right, if I just click this auto scaling group and edit, right, we'll have, see, based on the desired capacities there, and launch template, networks, let it be there, and requirement, load balancing, it's not added, leave it for this demo. Next demo I'll show you. Advanced configurations, right? Enable scale protection, termination policy. I don't need this termination policy. Let's go to the instance ramp up and maximum instance lifetime, suspended process, and add policy. Okay, so what you have to do, you have to add policy closest to the next instance or allocation strategy. It's not that one. I think it's not showing up after it is created. Okay, it's fine. Let's cancel it. Now, next demo, I'll show you. Okay, what will happen here? So we have created 2 instances here, right? 2 instances are running. So what will happen once? Yeah. So what will happen based on the desired and minimum capacity is 2. Now let me show you one thing here. If I go directly here and terminate one of the server, just terminate one of the server. Let me refresh this page and suppose I will terminate this one. Terminate. What will happen now? What will happen?
So one more instant automatically create.
Yes. So one more instance will automatically get spin up. So the health check after 3 seconds it will do and check if a server is down or not responding. What will do? It will automatically spin up another based because we have set up the minimum is 2 and desired also 2. All the time there will be 2 servers running. Must have to be 2 servers running there, right? If I do refresh now, another server will be created. See, only 1. Now if I go to dashboard, 1 will be in pending state. It will be creating now. It's terminated fully. Just refresh. After 3 seconds, it will create one more. Just wait for that. It's taking time. Yeah. So see, we can see now we have one pending now. Automatically it created, right? So it will start running after some time. So what will happen? We have minimum 2 servers will be available based on the capacity, based on the options you do the setups, right? So you'll find this way to increase or decrease the things. So in our next class demo, I'll show you this is what we will add horizontally the machines, right? In our next demo, I'll show you how we can increase the things vertically, right? And also we'll see how the things using the load balancer, how we dynamically increase or decrease based on the load balances, right? So hope you understood clearly about this auto scaling and all these things. What I would suggest, do practice now itself after this class, both auto scaling and load balancing. I'll share you another video which I had prepared for dynamically created load balancing and auto scaling. You also do have a look up there, as we have 2 more days available, right? We have, okay, tomorrow we may not have the classes because I have some work I have to go, and it will be delayed from the office. So what we can do here, we can continue to the practice to the load balancing as well as the auto scaling. Okay, with the video whatever I said, just go through that and do practice more, and that is a task for you. And in the next Monday we'll just discuss more on these things. Okay.